we had Laird, Veatch, and company. Talk about it today. Anything stick out to you from that?
No. It's just more.
We're trying, says Hardgrave.
Yeah, it just seems like more of the same stuff that we've always known.
What's his quote? He said,
oh my God.
We have been, we are in, and we will continue to be in the conversation. We're the best kept secret in athletics, and we shouldn't have to be.
What are your feelings on that?
I hated that line. Hated it.
We shouldn't be a secret.
I don't even think that we're a secret.
I don't either.
I think if you look at in terms of top G5 programs over the last 10 years, arbitrary number.
From that perspective and just basketball, like we're a national brand. People
Yeah,
recognize
like what are we
us.
talking
I wear
about?
Memphis stuff all over the country and people recognize it.
It's just a silly statement to me.
I was there at the press conference today, and it very much felt like there were a few talking points that Hardgrave was kind of, hey, hit these talking points, focus in on these things. And that whole best kept secret one was one of them. He said it multiple times, and I did not like it. I thought it was weird. Not to go too hard on the president of the university, but it definitely felt there was another conversation he had, or there's another thing he said where he talked about talking to different presidents of Power 5 schools, and just it felt so late. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it felt like, wait, this is where we're at? Is that it's late? Or that that's where we're at? That's what we're doing right now? That's our strategy? I don't know, man. It just didn't feel serious at all.
Yeah. I think he did say one thing that I kind of liked was, what did he say, Kenny? It was something like he was asked about discussions with other presidents and if they were negative.
That was Laird Veatch.
Oh, that was Veatch.
So Veatch was asked, and I thought this was a baller statement. He said, when you're asked by other Power 5 schools, ADs, presidents, whoever's in charge of those kind of conversations, what's their perception of Memphis? And his response was, or what are the questions you get about the city of Memphis? And he said, one of the things I've learned in all this is that Memphians are harder on Memphis than people outside of Memphis. And I think that is 1,000% true.
Oh, yeah. I would agree with
spot
that.
on.
I think harder, not just on Memphis, but Memphians on other Memphians. I mean, think about it from a basketball perspective, like with Lomax and Malcolm and guys that come and they suit up for the university. And I feel like a lot of times they get all of the criticism from their own. The Lawsons, all of them.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why they stay away from them these days.
Yeah.
I mean, just kind of, maybe not. I mean, I say that, but like if Givens ends up here, then like no one's going to be like, oh, you idiot, why'd you stay here?
Billy,
yeah.
No, I 100% agree with that. I think I even tweeted earlier this year, like most of the time you see stuff on X.com, whatever, negative stuff about Memphis. It's usually Memphians or people that were at one time Memphians but have moved somewhere else.
Yeah. I don't know, man. The whole realignment thing in general is interesting because there's nothing really you can do, right? I mean, like as an administrator, like yes, you can talk to people, but like
yeah, I mean,
they
all
for the most part
money
have their
and-
mind made up.
Yeah.
And like yes, there is some things. There are some things that they can do, right? We've seen it come out. What was it? They talked about the stadium renovations. They've talked about compliance issues. I thought that was real weird.
I wanted to ask you that. I wanted to ask you all about that. I
we
haven't
know
heard
we
that.
have
I haven't
issues.
heard that from anybody in positions of leadership at Memphis or even, at these other schools. Mm-hmm. But that was something that three things were mentioned in today's press conference that they have heard from these universities saying these are the issues that we see with the university that we need to see fixed. One of them obviously is the Liberty Bowl being renovated. The second one is the academic status, the R1 status, but there's still work to be done is what they kept saying. So R1 status plus additional things, additional funding, whatever it may be. And then the third one was compliance issues. And that one was new to me. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
I mean, we know that our compliance office struggles.
But also, I don't know what that means.
Is that from an athletic standpoint or compliance elsewhere? Athletically, I would take that as like you had the whole 2019 James Wiseman stuff going on. I feel like that's what they're pointing to in that scenario. It's like you've got NCAA issues going on from a compliance standpoint. Like, we don't want to do anything to touch you.
Yeah, the statement was there were ongoing NCAA compliance issues.
Yeah, that's what it's got to be. I mean, because what? They got Cincy, UCF, they got added in the Big 12 in 21, right? So, like, that's 2 years after all of that stuff kind of came to fruition, and we hadn't heard anything back yet. It hadn't been resolved. It's like,
well, what's interesting,
I could see people using that as an excuse to be like, well, you guys have some NCAA infraction stuff going on.
Yeah,
like,
I don't want to get my hands dirty.
We're going to stay away from that.
Yeah.
well, what's interesting about it is if you think about even the outcomes of the IARP, we, media, Memphis fans, whoever, have always looked at the outcome as a win because Penny Hardaway wasn't touched in those, right? Like he wasn't really impacted in a very negative way.
Sure.
But guess who took the fall in that IARP situation? It was the university saying our compliance department, basically we didn't explain to Penny, or we didn't do right by Penny, or there were some issues there. And even with the latest thing with the 3-game suspension with the, impermissible phone calls in a dead period, it was the narrative that came out was that
He didn't know.
And that compliance didn't have the right information for him to be able to know that he shouldn't make those phone calls. So I wonder if like them taking the fall, them taking the brunt of the blame has kind of negatively impacted their standing within some of those schools.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think that stuff really matters. It's really all just down to money. And from that, like, that's just another excuse. It's just they're pointing to something that they can say that's, hey, you guys have these issues. Get them figured out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't buy the fact that we had some compliance stuff with the whole James Wiseman situation being a reason that we're not in a Power 5 right now.
No, I definitely don't think that plays into it. I do understand generally that the football stadium is older, right? And the Big 12 is familiar with that. They play here every year with the Liberty Bowl.
Yeah.
I get that. The compliance stuff was whatever. I think that was kind of just randomly thrown in there. And then the R1 stuff, I guess I get that, right? I
mean, yeah, they are not a world-renowned academic institution.
We're not. And they just now...
But they are making improvements.
Yeah, I say just now. What was it? A year ago?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think about a year ago.
A year and a half ago, they got R1 status. Yeah. They're building the STEM facility now, right at the corner there of Central and the back loop by Omarone. I can't think of the name of that street right now.
Patterson?
No, it's the other side. The
Zach
back
Curlin.
side of it. Zach Curlin, maybe.
Oh, yeah, Zach Curlin, yeah.
They're building the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, where I'm assuming research is going to be done there. They're wrapping that up. So maybe that's all kind of a part of it, right? Like, just because you have R1 status, like, you need to be able to do active research.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the facility for it, you're probably not doing all the active possible research you can. So maybe it's something like that, right? Maybe they're just waiting on the R1 status to be in effect for X number of years. Obviously, academics are going up. Again, I don't know how much academics are playing a part of this, if we're being real honest with you, just due to the fact that ESPN, CBS, Fox, they're not signing contracts for academics. No one's out there watching the University of Memphis Knowledge Bowl.
Yeah.
Right.
Conference realignment is all about athletics.
It's money.
At one point, sure, and there may be institutions like Stanford that don't want to be associated with another university that's not at their tier, but academics is so far down the list. Like, you're not in a conference because of academics. It's about athletics.
Yeah, it's athletics, it's market. What can you do for our conference?
There's presidents that are in the discussions, but like the reality is the TV is driving this.
Sure.
To me, it felt like they were just talking about things that Memphis can control.
Sure.
Right? There's certain
well,
things.
That's all we can.
Yeah,
about.
that's
like,
what
you can
they
only
probably
control what you can control.